Our last class, we focused on Reconstruction. And we made the case in our last class that Reconstruction is a process that is incomplete, that we are still in a period of Reconstruction. Racism literally is evidence that where the 14th Amendment was supposed to establish black citizenship, racism that has that has transpired since is evidence that those class of people have not been elevated to full citizenship. And that's why we make the argument that Reconstruction is not over. Now, when you want to understand Reconstruction and you want to understand what it was supposed to do, how it was supposed to change the country, I'm going to use some different terms that's going to make the same argument we did in the last class. Okay. On the screen right now, we have the term ethnic nationalism. Okay. Make sure we get this as big as we can. All right. Ethnic nationalism, also known as ethno-nationalism, is a form of nationalism wherein the nation is defined in terms of ethnicity. Okay. The central theme of ethnic nationalists is that the nations are defined by a shared heritage, which usually includes a common language, a common faith, and a common ethnic ancestry. It also includes ideas of culture shared between members of the group and their ancestors. While some types of ethnic nationalism are firmly rooted in the idea of ethnicity or race as an immutable inherited characteristic, for example, black nationalism or white nationalism, often ethnic nationalism also manifests in the assimilation of a minority ethnic group into the dominant group. For the example, with Italianization. So now let's go back a little bit here. Ethnic nationalism defines the nation in terms of ethnicity. In the history of our country, white was the only citizen and everybody else was a non-citizen. We understand that through the laws of our country. As a matter of fact, the first law addressing citizenship in our country, let's go to it right now, was the Naturalization Law of 1790. Act of 1790. Let's just quickly go there. 1776 and I think 1789 was when the Constitution was completely ratified. So, okay. The first statute in the United States to codify naturalization law, alternatively known as the Naturalization Act of 1790, restricted citizenship to any alien being a free white person who had been in the U.S. for 2 years. So citizenship was restricted to free whites. Whites, in the eyes of the American system, was an ethnicity. And this ethnicity was the only national in the terms of the way the country was defined. Okay. So now, basically, our country started as a country where your race equated to your status. And Your race was passed down through generation, a heritage, like through blood. And ancestors are your relatives through blood. And your nationality or your citizenship in the nation was passed down through blood. And so you had to be of a certain nationality, or excuse me, a certain race or a certain ethnicity to be a national of this country. That's ethnic nationalism. And that's where our country was founded on, because only whites could be citizens. All right. While in some cases the division between ethnic and civic nationalism is clear, France being the archetype example of a national identity rooted in civic and linguistic nationalism. In other cases, the division is less clear. And so in France, they don't have racial categories in France. They don't have racial categories. In France, it's a civic nationalism is the way that their country is founded. And so it ain't about no race. You check white and black and all that, and now you become an exploited class because you check a certain category. Nah, it's different in France. They don't have racial categories. So if you dark skinned and you were born in France, you French, not Afro French. Okay. Reconstruction is a period in time where our country went from ethnic nationalism, which is the only way you can participate as a citizen is if you have the right ethnicity, white, to a civic nationalist country. Civic nationalism is governed by jus soli, or birthright citizenship. So now your tie to the country and citizenship is not through your ethnicity, passed through blood and heritage and ancestors. No, your birth in the country creates your claim to citizenship. Okay? Now, in Reconstruction, if we are going from a country of ethno-nationalism or ethnic nationalism where only whites can be citizens, whites that come from a certain ancestry and heritage, to a country where where your claim is not through race anymore, where your claim is through where you born, what happens is now the categories of white and black, which were tied to a what like they call immutable inherited characteristic, meaning unchangeable. Like, there's no way in the world you could be dark skinned and then check white. That's where we came from before Reconstruction. To now, whiteness ain't on. Whiteness now has nothing to do now when you change from ethnic to civic. Now, whiteness don't have anything to do with common ancestry. Nope. Now the prerequisite to whiteness don't have nothing to do with a shared heritage or common ancestors. When you go to civic, none of that stuff matter. Now the categories mean different things now. Now the restrictions that you had in the categories before, where you had to be tied to blood and common ancestry, now these categories don't have those restrictions anymore when you go to civic nationalism. As we say, it's for everybody now. Citizenship is for whiteness, or citizenship is for everybody now. When you go from a country governed by ethnic nationalism to a country going to civic nationalism. All right, we always use the word jus soli. Jus soli means birthright citizenship. It means that you got a claim to citizenship because you were born in the country. And guess what? Ethnic nationalism and civic nationalism, right? Contrast. You can't have both. What did it say right here? It says in scholarly literature, ethnic nationalism is usually contrasted with civic nationalism. When you go to a reconstruction, you are changing the country, but nobody understands what the change was supposed to be through reconstruction. We came in with racial categories and people feeling like their race is their ancestry, and we came out with people feeling like race. Look, race is exclusive, and that race is your ancestry. You came out still thinking in a ethnic nationalist way, yet the country changed to civic nationalism. Right? We got this whole thing of hold on, somebody mute their mic. Who is that?
Sorry.
Yep, okay, there you go. We got this thing going on right now where we got 23andMe and Ancestry.com. That's a big thing right now. Everybody tracing their roots to figure out what their ancestry is, right? In the book, I referenced this to like the new one drop rule. I say it's like the new one drop rule because anything that has you respect the categories to make the category significant, that's going to make you feel like your ancestry is more important than your nationality, then that puts you in a ethnic nationalist understanding of the world and your identity. It makes black seem significant when you're doing all of these ancestry.coms and all of that, making it seem like ancestry is more important than nativity. Even when you look at the identity African American, right? You mention a continent, Africa, first. That's really disrespectful to where you born. But because you are been taught that ancestry is more important than nativity, you don't have no problem with calling yourself African American. You have a old way of understanding the world. You have a pre-Reconstruction way of understanding the world. If your ancestors mean more than your nativity, where you born today, versus who your peoples were. And when you're in a society that continues to ask you what your race is, do you think that they're asking the question of who your peoples were? Or are they asking you, are you loyal and citizen to this country here? They're asking you who is your allegiance to. And when you say African American, black, and all these other things, you're not a citizen here. You still looking at the world through an ethnic national point of view, where your ancestry, your heritage, your race matters more than your citizenship, than your nativity, than where you're born today. And so we need to ask ourselves, what are they asking us when they keep throwing us a racial category? Do they care about our citizenship and loyalty to the country? Or do they care about who your ancestors were? Okay? Ancestry and anything that's making ancestry more important than your current citizenship is creating or supporting an old idea and an old way of looking at the world, that your allegiance to a nation is through your ethnicity, that your ancestry matters more. And so when people try to, when you start to, teach people or tell people, yeah, I check white now, and they try to tell you, oh, you a coon and this, that, and the other, and you like, well, what makes you say that? And they say, you disrespecting your ancestors. Oh, right now, that's ethnic nationalism. Right now, that is the country in the way that America was when it started, before Reconstruction. After the Reconstruction, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, our country changed. That's what Reconstruction means. The construction of it changed. And that change, which they don't teach you, is that you went from nationality through race to nationality through birthright. That's different. Okay? Now the categories are exclusive no more. Now anybody can, now because racial categories put voluntary in every one of them, every time you fill out a racial category, it's going to put voluntary. Why, if we were still on ethnic nationalism and your race had to be through your heritage and shared ancestry, do they have to put voluntary on racial categories now? They have to, because before there wasn't no choice in race. It was through your bloodline. But now that we changed to civic nationalism and it's not on your bloodline no more, they got to put voluntary in there now. Because they can't just look at you and be like, oh, he white, he black. Nope, can't do that no more. It's voluntary now. We civic nationalists now. Now it's your birthright that controls whether you can be a citizen or not. That's the difference. Anybody try and hit you with the coon? You like, I'm the coon? You still look at the world through an ethnic nationalist perspective. And we ain't on that right now. And when you want to understand why you got racism, why you the subject of exploitation and all that type of stuff, it's because you still got the old way of looking at the world through ethnicity and race. And because you see the world like that, you got citizenship that you could take at any time. But because you think you born your race, because you think that race is tied to ethnicity now, that race is about your heritage and bloodline, because you don't understand the difference, you stay in black, not knowing that whiteness is for everybody. Now, who the coon, right? If you still look at the world through an ethnic nationalist perspective, and we changed 200 years ago, who the coon now? You was tricked. This is what the con is about. The con is trying to, right, keep you in the understanding of ethnic nationalism when the country changed. Now, when you look at the media, TV, everything that you look at now, if it's tying race to ethnicity, it's part of the game trying to keep you in an ethnic nationalist view of the world. Anything that's supporting blackness and Asianness and all of those things that are non-white are trying to keep the people in an ethnic nationalist perspective of the world. Why? Because now it keeps the categories exclusive. Because people think whiteness is only for one people. Ethnic nationalism. See, that's what the true game is about. Somebody took their mic off? Hey, Shmee. Mute your mic, Shmee. Right, you serenading us with, look, we getting Chris Brown in the background. Mute your mic, Shmee. There you go. All right. Anybody, anything that is supporting blackness, okay? Watch this, and this is gonna be messed up when I say this, but you know, the Black Caucus, Black Girls Rock, all of these different things. I love what they're trying to do, but they don't understand that they're supporting the ethnic nationalism perspective of the world. I get what they're doing. You know, when you got a class that's been exploited, they need some big upping. I get that, but we got to find ways to do it that's not through blackness. That's not through a category that continues an ethnic nationalist perspective of the world, that keeps us in a racial category that, guess what? Once the world changed and we went to civic nationalism, we went to a position where whiteness was for everybody. Whiteness is just citizenship. The slick way to say citizen. But because they birth you and they teach you and they reinforce that you are your race, that you born your race, that your color is your race, this what keeps us in those categories, and it keeps whiteness exclusive for them, even though whiteness is for everybody. Okay, these official terms, I needed to give y'all ethnic nationalism. I needed to give y'all civic nationalism, the opposite of it, because if you want to share this with people, right, when you want to explain the reason why you check white now, it's because the world changed through Reconstruction and we didn't understand why. And what happened was we went for a country that had exclusive racial categories tied to your ancestry, your heritage, and a bloodline. And we went from that to anybody born here can be a citizen now. But what they did was they're not going to change the categories. If you come to my team, I don't got to change my name. People get traded all the time to teams. The team name don't change because the player come. We still going to be the Wizards. We still going to be the 76ers. No matter who come to our team, we're going to keep our name. And so the trick was they kept the names. They kept the categories. They don't mean what they used to mean no more. They for everybody. You can choose any which one you want. But now this whole thing is, oh, I can't check white because I'm dark skinned. Yeah, got you. That's why they left the name white. White means citizen. That's why they left it there. Because they want you to see the world in a way that your race is tied to your nationality. And they going to keep you in black, which is no citizenship, no nationality, exploited class, racism, all that. That's what come when you check black. Everybody know that. Anybody that would disagree is almost saying like white supremacy don't exist. Do it exist? Does white privilege exist? Don't we live in that world? I went to a Friendsgiving and I asked the group of people, they were having a little discussion. And I said, how many people, raise your hand if you think that white privilege and supremacy is real. And to a man, everybody put their hand up. I said, well, my next question was, do y'all know that racial categories are voluntary? They paused for a little bit, and then the hands started sprinkling up. And by the time, the hands was going up, probably 90% of the room had their hands up. Like, this common knowledge almost. Everybody know that it's voluntary. So my next question was, well, if you know white supremacy and privilege is real, and you also know that racial categories are voluntary, why do you check black? Awkward silence. Because your common sense say, why wouldn't I choose the best one? But your ethnic nationalist perspective of the world teach you that you can't change because it's tied to your ancestors and your heritage. That's why you don't pick it. The only reason why you don't choose white knowing it's the best category is because you believe you got a shared heritage and that black is your ancestry. That's why. Even though that is not the case. As long as they get you to believe that black is your ancestry, you're going to keep checking it and you're going to keep getting exploited. That's the con. And so I'm giving you official words. When people want to explain, you want to explain to somebody? Racism in America is the difference between ethnic nationalism and civic nationalism. The people who check black voluntarily have no idea that they can check anyone that they want. Why? Because the world changed through Reconstruction. And the categories went from exclusive to inclusive. They for everybody. But black people, they ain't taught that. They taught you was born black. And you owe your ancestors your blackness. So they stay in a class that they don't have to be in. They teach their kids, you black. They make them black. You know why? Because the first person to make you black is your parents. You a baby. When they fill out that first social security card for you, your national identification number that establishes your race. You don't choose. Your parents make you black, and you stay black all your life, even though you can change when you become 21. You can change your race whenever you want. You can go white all year, and when February come around and you want some Black History Month, you can go change it to black for 28 days and then come back to whiteness. That is the power that you have over your race, and you have no idea. But you teach blackness to each other. You want to understand why we still got race in America? Because black people think that they was born this position and they don't want to let it go. That's why. And until black people say, you know what, I can make a different choice, they're going to continue to be, their kids going to be exploited, their kids going to be exploited, and white people are never going to, look, white people don't even understand how they get into supremacy. They don't know. They still think ethnic nationalists too. They think whiteness is their bloodline too. That's why the game don't stop. Because if white people knew how they was getting the supremacy, they'd tell you. But nope, they don't know either. They think it's they born their position too. They think it's their blood and ancestry too. That's why they don't tell you, man, why ain't y'all checking white? Anybody can check white. You think white people would, as much as they love y'all, you think they wouldn't tell you, they marry you and everything. You think they wouldn't tell you if they knew? They don't know either. So to think that this white supremacy is going on and white people are doing something purposely against black, nah, they don't even know how they getting the supremacy. If they did, they would tell you. It's proof they don't know. Ain't no white people telling you, check white. That's all you gotta do. Do the same thing we do. Check white. Y'all see that in the background? Look, boop, boop, check white. It's a little backwards. You think they wouldn't tell you if they knew? They don't know either. They think just like you do, ethnic national. So the way to hide citizenship in America is to continue to teach an ethnic nationalist point of view in a country that is a civic nationalist country now. If you born here, you got the right to whiteness or citizenship, period. Whiteness is for everybody born here. But they don't teach you that way. So because they teach you differently, you don't take advantage of voluntary choices that you always had. Black people think that white people are supposed to end racism for them when they don't understand that it's their choices that keep it going. All they got to do is go in there and check white and be white, and they're going to have the same protections that the white people get. But they don't know. That's why we doing these classes. That's why we got Shmi in the background in the car. He know. Yeah, he know. He white, kids white. His kids never were black. Born, soon as he got the paperwork, white people, white kids, dark-skinned white kids from the jump. He one of the people that when this hit the fan and everybody started doing it, he gonna be like, man, my kids was never black. One day in their life. Eric kids known they was white from the jump. I guarantee you ask Eric kids about they gonna be like, oh, we white. Little ones that understand civic nationalism better than adults. Go ahead, say what you gotta say, Eric.
And like a 4-year-old say, I'm whiter than you.
Period. 4-year-olds got more knowledge of the country and the status in their country than grown-ups, than professors. This huge, y'all. I can say this so many different ways. I gave y'all some official terms now. Ethnic nationalism, civic nationalism. If y'all just study that, you will know the difference. What the country was supposed to be after Reconstruction. The reason why I teach y'all Reconstruction is still a process yet to be completed is because the majority of people still see the world through an ethnic nationalist point of view. And just like the white drop rule kept blacks from going over and picking any race that they wanted. Now this whole 23andMe, Ancestry.com, still teaching y'all that your ancestry and heritage mean more than your citizenship in the country that you live in now, while you get exploited generation after generation after generation and don't know why, and waiting for somebody to end racism for you when the move is on you. To be a citizen, you must choose it. Nationality comes with, oh, all right, I got something else for y'all. Let's go here. It's a good little word y'all might should get familiar with. And it's a good little word because it really gives you clues as to why race is voluntary. So watch this. The new word of the day, the third new word I introduced to y'all. Let's see. Ethnic nationalism. Okay. I introduced to you guys today civic nationalism, which is a contrasting idea of how nationalists and citizenship is made within a country. Now I'm going to give y'all the word self-determination. The right of a people to self-determination is a cardinal principle in modern international law, commonly regarded as jus cogens rule, binding as such on the United Nations as an authoritative interpretation of the Charter norms. It states that people, based on respect for the principle of equal rights and fair equality of opportunity, have the right to freely choose their sovereignty and international political status with no interference. That's what self-determination is, right? They have to put voluntary when you get to choose your race because you don't know. You're freely choosing your sovereignty and international political status. That's what you're doing. You didn't even know that when you was checking your race, this is your opportunity of self-determination. You get to choose at this point what your law is and your international political status. When you choose white, you're saying, I am a part of the United States of America. That's my sovereignty. And my political status is citizen national in international law. That's what you're doing when you're checking white. And you got to, and it's voluntary because why? Guess what? You have the right to self-determination. You get the right to, with no interference, right? So if grandma be like, no, you black, that's our ancestry. No, that's interference. If somebody be like, what you mean you checking white? Look at your skin, it's dark. Oh, really? That's interference. You got the right to freely choose your sovereignty and international political status, citizenship and nationality. You have that. But when you get the chance, you check black. Uh-oh. Now, when you want to understand why you get poverty and when you get degradation and exploitation and all of that, it's because you did choose. You got your chance for self-determination. You had your chance. But guess what? Guess what? You chose black. And guess what? We keep asking you to because we want to make sure. And every time we ask you, what do you put on the vote? What you put? You check black. Okay, well, you get what you asked for then. We don't even understand that racism is getting what we asked for. Yes, black is systematic programming. I'm glad somebody just said that. They want to do that because what is white supremacy without exploiting black people? It's nothing. If everybody that's non-white start hitting white now, they don't leave them nobody to exploit because now it's just a country versus of all citizens now. So they look. What is the privilege if I don't get to exploit? I gotta exploit somebody to get the privilege. If you take away my people to exploit, now I don't have the privilege no more. It takes away white supremacy now, because now we just all citizens, and we gotta do it all the same way now. I don't have no group to pick on. We all just gotta get it how we get it. But if I got a group that keep checking black and non-white, and they're using their free, and they doing it freely. Not only are they doing it freely, but ain't nobody got to teach them blackness no more. They took over that. They woke. I don't. You say systematic. Somebody put on there, which I agree, systematic, training. But guess what now? Who the system? Teaching blackness now. Who the system? Please don't tell me the system got a white face. Not when soon as your kid born, you check black for them. In a country white supremacy is real, but you check black. Who is the system? You are systematically doing it to yourself. So yeah, it's systematic, but the question is, who pulling the levers? We got nobody to blame but ourselves. I used to teach blackness too. I'm guilty. I put my hand up. Yeah, I did. I thought it was my ancestors. I thought it was my heritage. I didn't know that when Reconstruction came, the country changed too. And we wasn't on ethnic nationalism no more. We was on civic nationalism. It's birthright to whiteness now. If I'm born here, I got the right to whiteness just like anybody else. It changed, but the teaching didn't change. It changed, but everybody kept with the same ethnic nationalism con. They kept that going on. And guess what? I say con, but this let's get real serious right now, okay? Citizenship come with responsibility. Citizenship come with understanding the country and the systems and how the laws work. Citizenship comes with a burden of responsibility. Now, when you come from a slave situation where you barely know the language, you definitely don't know the law, right? There really is a period of time that to a man, because we talking about citizenship to a man, that the people will be elevated to a point where they will even understand the law. It might be a generation, right? What if the understanding was where we want citizenship of this group of people, they really can't responsibly exercise the responsibility right now. It's going to take some time. And where the offer is there, when they get to the point where they can understand the offer, then they would have earned the right to be a citizen in this country. Now, what if they did it like that? Right? And now it's really our responsibility to get to the level of understanding to be able to see that citizenship has been there since Reconstruction, is there now, and it's systematically always an opportunity to grab it. But it's when you reach the level of understanding the law is when you'll be able to see clearly that your citizenship isn't being hidden from you. But until you reach the level of understanding the responsibility to where you really become the law because you understand the law, is when you've earned the right to be a citizen of the country. But in order to do that too, now that might be a way that it was done. But in order to even do it that way, you got to dumb down the real citizens too. See? So I don't even know if I agree with that. This was really just purposely done to keep supremacy to one group. But again, I say to y'all, self-determination is something that we exercise every time we get a racial category. But we need to understand what we're choosing. You have the right to freely choose their sovereignty and international political status with no interference. Did y'all even know that you was ever making a choice like that? honestly, like, is there anybody who ever thought that there was some process within the American system where you were freely choosing your sovereignty and political status with no interference? If somebody would have asked you, in American society, you get to choose, you get to freely choose your sovereignty and international political status. You know what the form that is? You'd have been like, what? We get to do what? Where do we do that at? I ain't never known that I ever made a choice like that. When? Yeah. That's a human right. The UN was founded on those ideas of you having the right to do so. Yet, you grown, right? You come to the age of the majority, 21 years old, 40, 50, live and die, and never knew that within your society, you've always had the right, and you have been exercising your right to freely choose your sovereignty and international political status. And you didn't even know. You'd have been like, when, where, what form was it? What? I didn't know I made that choice. Yeah, you did. You didn't know but you know what? If somebody would have asked you your race, you'd have been like this, man. I see racial categories all the time. Every time I do something important, I gotta fill out one of them joints. Yeah, true. Every time you do something important, you do gotta fill out one of them joints. You telling them freely who you are. Are you a citizen national? If so, you checking white. If you choosing one of them other joints, oh, okay. You still believe in the old way of your races, your ethnicity, and ancestry, huh? Oh, okay. You one of them pre-Reconstruction niggas. Don't you know the world changed? Don't you know that race ain't tied to your blood and ancestry no more? You didn't know that? They didn't teach you that? Wait a minute. You didn't know whiteness was for everybody born here? Everybody born here. And you got a right, your birth right is claimed to whiteness. Cause you born here, you get to check that joint too. Hold on. You didn't know that? Oh. I guess I would look like a coon if we still lived in a world with ethnic nationalism. That is coonish. That's very coonish to try to check white, right? Or to claim whiteness in a time where ethnic nationalism rules and your race is tied to your ancestry and your blood and heritage. Yeah, I think that would be a very cool move to be like, I'm white too, dark as I don't know what. But if the world changed to civic nationalism, and your claim ain't got nothing to do with heritage and ancestry no more. Now your claim got to do with where you born. Oh, that's different now. Now it ain't that coonish. Now I'm choosing supremacy and privilege. I'm choosing not to be a victim of racism. I'm choosing to not be a exploited class in my home where I was born. Nah, that ain't no cool move. You just still stuck in looking at the world in an old way. Now, why isn't wokeness understanding that you don't live in that no more? Why don't that define woke? See, we gotta start redefining some of these terms. Why don't woke mean I understand that I don't live in a ethnic nationalist country no more? That I got self-determination. And that I got to claim the citizenship or whiteness because I'm born here. Now that's woke. Eric, that's woke. Yeah, that's woke. I'm going to open up the floor for comments. What y'all got to say? Somebody unmute your mic and say something. Oh, ain't nobody got nothing to say. Wow. Nutter, you got something to say, Nutter? Nope. Nobody. Oh. All right. Well, I'm gonna go to something else. I told y'all that I was still doing some studying and I found something else today. So I'm gonna show y'all what I found. Okay. Bryan versus Walton is a very, very important case to me because it explains a lot in status. I think it's the best case in American history when it comes to status and understanding the status of a slave, the status of a freed slave, black, and the status of excuse me, y'all, and the status of white or citizen. Is the best case for it. Now, in this case, number 18, whenever you're looking up Bryan versus Walton, they be numbering some of the paragraphs. This one is 18. It says the highest act of sovereignty a government can perform is to adopt a new member with all the privileges and duties of citizenship. Okay? It's the most important thing a government do. Now watch this. It says, was there a general law elevating free persons of color to this condition, then the assent of the government would be given in advance of the act of manumission. Now let me tell you how important that is. Okay? He is telling us about the proper procedure of how to elevate a class of people to citizen. Okay? He's saying that in order to elevate free persons of color to the condition of citizen, right, the assent of government will be given in advance of the act of manumission. In other words, watch this. We got the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment. That's our Reconstruction, right? The 13th Amendment acted as manumission. The 14th was the law that supposedly elevated blacks to citizenship. But in this case, he's telling us that the way the civil law works is if it was going to take a class of people, free persons of color, blacks, and elevate that class to citizenship, then the 14th Amendment should have happened before the 13th Amendment. Okay? That's called procedure. This case shows us that if they were going to elevate a class to citizenship, that they would have had to put the 14th before the 13th. But we didn't get that. They did the act of manumission or freeing the slave and then put your offer of citizenship after it. Okay? And so because they did it out of procedure, we understand that blacks aren't citizens here. A class wasn't elevated to citizenship because the way to do that is to create the citizenship first and then free the people. So now we already know who their law is, what the rights of these peoples are and everything. But when you do it out of order, that's the why you still got black codes, Jim Crow, and all of this stuff that come after you supposedly was given citizenship. But it didn't elevate your class. It only offered citizenship to you. And you didn't know that you had to leave the class in order to take the citizenship. You had to leave blackness and go to whiteness in order to accept the offer. Okay? Roman history teaches us, and then in this case, it teaches us the proper procedure in order to elevate a class. And the proper procedure is to elevate them first and then free them. And when you want evidence of the proper way to do it, you can look in Roman history and you can look at the history of the plebeians. And this law right here, the Horatian laws, 1, 2, and 3. That was their Reconstruction period. Is when the plebeians became full citizens in Rome. And it's the proper way to do it. And when you compare their Reconstruction with our Reconstruction, you see that ours is out of order. And you understand that when because we're out of order, then what we think happened, a whole class of people got elevated to citizenship. That's not what happened. What actually happened is the offer of citizenship was given to that class of people, and that people had to leave the class that they were in to join the citizenship class. And that's the difference. And so Roman history is great to compare when it comes to United States, because we copied their law. And we want to understand procedure and how things are supposed to be done, especially when it comes to the most important thing a government can do, the highest act of sovereignty, is to adopt a new member.